So you bought your new Ridley Noah, you're installing the front brake cable housing, and you notice that when you put the cable into the frame, it won't come through the other end. I'm here to show you how to get this sheathing that belongs inside the top tube and this cable to make it all work smoothly. So when you put the cable into the front part of the housing or the frame, you can't get the cable to come through this hole. Well, this sheathing is what belongs inside the frame, and it should be the exact height or length between this hole and this hole. If it's any longer, then you probably should trim some off so you don't get flex inside the frame when you press on the brake. If it's too short, that's okay, because it goes into this housing or insert, which is almost roughly 1.5 to 2 inches long. So you do have some play in the frame. Now this is what it looks like inside the frame. So you do have some room for this to maneuver. So that's kind of what it's going to look like inside the frame. You don't necessarily need to ever pull these out, but for visual, I wanted to show you exactly how it works inside the frame. Now I'm going to put this back in the frame so we can reassemble the sheathing. So I push that back in, and on a side note, none of this is bonded to the frame. It's all just inserted. So there's no epoxy or glue holding any of this into the frame. So everything is removable. However, getting it back in can sometimes be a trick. So the first thing you're going to do is get your sheathing. You're going to insert your new cable through the sheathing, like so. So you have the sheathing on the cable. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the cable through the rear brake hole. And what's going to happen is it's going to pop out the bottom part of the head tube here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reattach this sheathing to the front part of this cable hole. In order to do that, this is where it becomes rather tricky and a little bit of patience, but a lot of practice. You can do it in just under about 10 minutes. This is regular fly fishing line like you would find. You can get any kind of line would work, just as long as it's sturdy enough to pull and thin enough to pull this cable back through this hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this fishing line through the first hole. Now you need to get down there and look in there and make sure you're getting it. So the fishing cable is now going into the top tube. So I'm just going to push a lot of it through. And this fishing line is about, I don't know, 1.5 feet long maybe? It's not that, maybe 2 feet if that. Not very long. But you want to get a good portion through there. Now, you can use any tool, but I designed this tool out of a spoke. Basically what I did is I bent it a little bit because it's going to go in through the top tube, and I made a little hook on the end so I can grab the fishing line from the inside of the top tube. So I insert this into here. This may take me a couple of times, but you want to basically grab the fishing line with this hook. And like I said, this is the harder of the process. But once you get it, there it is. So now you've got the fishing line running through the bottom, the brake hole to the top tube. Now, I ran this through the bottom on purpose, but you probably should have it on the top. This makes things actually a lot easier when you go to push this back through the hole. So it's now through the top of the top tube, the brake cable. This part is really important because this is what's going to run your cable back through. So what I do is I grab some duct tape, very small amount, maybe a half inch, very small, because you want the cable and the fishing line to both come through that hole. So I take the end of this cable, or the fishing line, and I do a nice little neat wrap around the same direction. You don't want it to go this way, but rather this way, so you're pulling straight. So I wrap the cable and the fishing line together as tight as I can, because you want it to stick, because you're going to put some resistance on this when you're trying to pull it back through the hole. So, and if it pops off, no big deal. You just start again from the beginning. So roughly, that's what it should look like. Now you don't want to pull this cable all the way through here, so you want to keep it in there. You got to rethread it. So now I'm ready to pull the cable back through the hole to reattach the sheathing. So now I can let the cable fall in there. Now I'm going to come around to this side and I'm going to pull the cable back through. Now what I'm going to do